Heaven and Hell by E.A. Wallis Budge. Book 1, Ym Duat, Chapter 8, the 8th division of the Duat, which is called Debut Netcherus. And I'll probably figure out how to pronounce that right as we go along and see it somewhere. But remember that when it comes to fair use, religious presentations or spiritual presentations, or whichever word you like to call these things, magical presentations, there's more license. And this is over 100-year-old book, so as long as I'm not PDFing this or something, I should be fine. The scene that illustrates the 8th division of the Duat, which is passed through by the sun entity during the 8th hour of the 9th, 8th, 12th of the sunset to sunrise, is introduced by 4 lines of text, which read, okay, we got Duat Nuxit. Okay. The majesty of this great entity taketh up its place in the circles of the hidden entities who were on their sand, and he addresseth to them words in his boat, whilst the entities tow him along through the city by means of the magical powers of the serpent Mahan. The name of the city, of the gate of this city, is Ym Duat. The name of the city is tempt. The name of the hour of night which guideth this great entity is Nebat Usha. So Usha is obviously between dusk and dawn. And we have I'm still, I don't quite know. The circles of division are thus described. The hidden circles of Yumt, which are passed through by the great entity, his boat, being towed along by the entities who dwell in the Duat, let them be made according to the figures on the north of the hidden palace in the Duat. Whosoever knoweth them by their names shall be the possessor of swavings upon earth, and he shall not be repulsed at the hidden gates, and he shall have offerings in great abundance regularly and perpetually. And sort of a symbolic truth behind that sort of thing is that your legacy carries on as if deeds were being done to benefit you continually, because, they do. In the middle register are the boat of the sun, in which the entity stands under a canopy formed by the body of the serpent Mahan, being towed along by 9 entities. His passage is thus described. And let's look over this. And there's different variations of this text, to the point of even having a different one per pyramid or grave scroll. Sometimes it's just changing the name. Sometimes it goes beyond that. But just like Hinduism. Hinduism is not one religion either, but Hinduism, I guess, is more varied than Egypt. Possibly you can say that, or maybe you can't say that. It's hard to say. This entity maketh his way into the city, being towed along by the entities of the Duat. In his hidden form of Mahan, this entity sendeth forth a cry to the regions of every circle of the city, and also to the entities who are therein. And it is the voice of them which this entity heareth, after he hath sent forth a cry to them. The figures of their bodies remain always with their dead bodies, which are under their sand, and their gates open to the voice of this entity each day. And they hide themselves after he passed by them. Their work in the Duat is to tow Ra along over the ways of this city. And exactly. In the reproduction there, we have 5 behind him, 2 before. He's encompassed by the mehen, and also the presence of his wife. But he's taking a ram head there. The boat of Yuf. And Yuf is that, like a pear with a long stem is sort of how the shape goes, but anyways. And the ways of the city, and they rise up after they have towed him along into this hall, and they say to him, O thou power, come thou to thine hidden image, O our God, and to all the sepulchres of Gente Gimte, unite thyself along strongly to it, and mayest thou be entreated to enlighten the darkness of those who are on their sands. We beseech thee to come and to unite thyself, O Ra, to those who tow thee along. The 8 demons who tow along the boat of Ra are thus described. So instead of Ntrwa or Ntra, we have Ra as chief demon for these. So the separation of the 4 alike and 4 different, but there's only 2 types of different, I guess. But they're all of the same. Oh, the same band here. All the same band here. I may go back and edit these. This is why I'm saying things a bit different. These are the demons of the Duat who tow along Ra, in the place where the demons have their sepulchres. But Neturu set, and it is claimed by those who are in the city the images of the secret Tajnan of Hore, and of the, Hore is Horus, or her. The entities are with them, 9 large objects. 9 large objects, somewhat in the form of the hieroglyphic Shems, which has the meaning of follower, our servant. Unlike this sign, however, each of the 9 objects is presented with a huge knife, and from the curved end of each is suspended a human head. And Maspero is undoubtedly correct in describing these as the servants of the god. The names of these 9 servants are... So Netru is a term that may not be used quite properly. Because certainly if they're calling things gods, not everything that's called a god is a god. So let me make that distinction clear. The first is Hetep Ka. The second is Yaman, or Yawarn. We have Sesh Ta Ba Eue, or Sush Ta Ba Eu. The fourth is Suxan Khabet. And then we have Nabatur Tajura. Then we have Man Wu. And the jar with the heart is the determinative there. We have Mach Nu. Mat nu. We have matur we. And finally, the ninth is permu. Of these entities, it is said. Oh, and before I say what it said, look at that interesting little, sort of like the glyph for death, because you're kind of hanging over, sort of the death position. You kind of, like that. Not a regular bow or prostration or anything. You're just, kind of. And obviously the knife's ready to cut off your head, so that makes sense there. It's a weird way to kill somebody. You hang them back and then you cut off their head. But I guess maybe you want something about having the head. Maybe they're not able to fight as much in the last moment if you kind of twist them like that. Those who are in this picture are those who are on the path along which this entity is towed, and they have their swathings before him, in the form in which the entity himself had them. This, our great demon, crieth out unto those who have their life in them, in their heads, in their forms. This great entity crieth out to them by their names. Their work is to seize the enemies of Ra everywhere throughout this city, and then to make their heads to pass under their swords after this great entity hath passed them by. A ram having the solar disk between his horns, and the symbol of linen bandages in front of him. He is an image of Tajnan, of whom he is the first form. Xperu, Tepepe, Arxper. And let's make sure to show you that. You can see it's showing clearly for me. If it's not for you, let me know, and I'll see if there's something I can do to correct that. A ram having the crown of the south between his horns, and the symbol of linen bandages before him. He is an image of Tajnan, of whom he is the second form. Xpernu, or Xper. A ram having the crown, or Xperu, perhaps, yeah, because you're just going ooh when you have it plural. A ram having the crown of the north between his horns, and the symbol of linen bandages in front of him. He is an image of Tajnan, of whom he is the third form. Oh, maybe it's Ue, and this is U. Sprue, because we're having the third form. A ram having the solar disk and a pair of plumes above his horns, and the symbol of linen bandages in front of him. He is an image of Tajnan, of whom he is the fourth form. Sprue. Nu. R. Just spur 4 times. The text which refers to these reads, and so we have further forms of Tajnan. Four forms is an important number. Those who are in this picture, in the Duat, with their swathings of linen in front of them, in the form in which the entity himself are, they to whom he crieth out, after he hath come to the place where they are, and they on their part cry out to this entity with their voices which are joyful but hidden, and this entity singeth a song of joy at their voices, after hath passed by them, and when the darkness of night hath covered them over, they receive the diadems of Ra, and the soul of Tajnan uniteth itself to the earth. In the upper register are 5 circles of the Duat, and a door which may be thus described. This circle, which is called Sishta, is entered through a door by the name of this Nabat Durr. Good thing I can read that. I would have mispronounced it. And in it are seated 3 images. But before we get to those 3 images, look at this one. I'm hoping that's pretty clear. We have the image of Tum wearing the white crown, the image of Spre, the image of Shu. Each of these is seated upon an instrument for weaving. You know, that upside down Y thing. The text reads, "Those who are on this picture are on their instruments for weaving of her, the heir, the youthful one." So that head thing is her. So it's pronounced her, so Horus, but her seems to be the typical pronunciation of what we're looking at here. This demon crieth out to their souls after he hath entered into the city of the entities who are on their sand, and there are heard the voices of those who are shut in this circle, which are like of many bees of honey, when their souls cry out to Ra. And the name of this circle is Sushta. The circle, which is called Duat, is entered through a door with the name of Dus Aha Tajnan, and in it are seated the image of Tepnet, the image of Sab, the image of Nut. Each of these is sealed upon an instrument for weaving. The text reads, "Those who on this picture are upon their instruments for weaving, which are set firmly in their sand according to the mystery which her made. This entity crieth out to their souls in whatsoever regions they are, and there are heard the voices of those shut in the circle, which are like the sound of the swathed ones when their souls cry to Ra." The name of the circle is Duat. And remember the later magical formulas about "in whichever part of the world and thou art" and that sort of thing. It, is really mimicking the power of the chief demons over the lesser demons. This circle, which is called Yes Natru, is entered through a door with the name of Dus Akham Bayu. Dus Aksam Ba. And in it are seated the image of Osiris. So Yerset, the image of Isis. The image of Horus, hawk-headed. Each of these is seated before, and the text reads, which, after the Yesnutshru, let's see their circle. And those who on this picture are upon their instruments for weaving, which are set firmly in their sand according to the mystery her made. This entity crieth out to their souls in whatsoever regions they are, and there is heard the sound of the voices shut in the circle, which is like unto the sound of men who lament when their souls cry out to Ra. The name of the circle is Yasnatru. This circle, which is called Yakbi, is entered through a door with the name of this Shata the Hanatru. The Hanatru, okay. And in it are seated. So the Yakbi circle. Notice the three groups of three, I think. Are we talking three groups of... The Yakbi, the Shishta, and before that we had the forms of Tadman. Okay. The image of Ka, Ym Duat. The image of Ba Natru, ram-headed. The image of Natru, ram-headed. Each of these is seated as before. The text reads, those who are on this picture are seated upon their instruments for weaving, which are set firmly on their sand, according to the mystery which Horus made. This entity crieth out to their souls in whatsoever regions they are, and there is heard the sound of the voices of those who are shut in this circle, which is like unto the sounds of bulls and of other male animals, when their souls cry out to Ra. The name of this circle is Yakbi. This circle, which is called Nabat Smu Nefu, is entered through a door having the name of Dunce Sma Kekeu, and in it are seated the image of Chitri Ik Numan headed, so sort of fish-headed. The image of Yuri Anb The. Oh, Yura Yuran Buffet. The circle of Nabat Semo Nefe. Duat, Netstru, Yake. Okay, a fourth circle of that. Each of these is seated before. The text reads, and before we tell you more here, let's make sure you see what those look like. Those who on this picture are upon their instruments for weaving, which are set firmly on their sand according to the mystery which her made. This entity crieth out to their souls in whatsoever regions they are, and there is heard the sound of the voices of those who are shut in this circle, which is like unto the sound of those who make supplications through terror, when their souls cry out to Ra. The name of this circle is Nabat Smoon and we're reminded of the whispering of the Sheat-Pin, which the religious seek refuge from. An open door called Das Chebetu Duateu is beyond which a demoness and lower register are also 5 circles and an open door, which may be thus described: the circle which is called Hataptanabas is entered through a door having the name of Dut Nata. Okay, let me. Dut Smurman Nata. In it are a demoness standing upright called Ym, the serpent Mahanta, 3 arrows lying on top of the weaving symbol. Those are the arrows of Ra, and there's the door there. Because when we're on our mystical journeys, it's important to know the doors, the names of the doors, the entities at the doors, and what we're supposed to do at the, what the door is. And a ram-headed demon seated on the weaving symbol. His name is Ym Duat. The text reads, "Those who are on this picture are upon their instruments for weaving, according to the mystery which her, the heir, the young maid, this great entity crieth out to their souls after he hath entered into this city of the demons who are upon their sand, and when this great entity crieth out to them in the 2 Yitrita, there is heard the sound of those who are shut in this circle, which is like unto the voices of male cats when they cry out, and their souls cry out to Ra. The name of this circle is Hataptanabas." And the snake's trying to weave himself in a little bit. This circle, which is called Hatam Smau, it is entered through a door having the name Dus Ra. Dus Raksfateu. Okay, I do great at the Ksfate. Dus Ra Ksfate. In it are Nut, bearded and man-headed, Ka, bearded and man-headed, Sabakhere, the crocodile-headed, and I guess the guy in the back is, actually, well, the guy in the front's not so human, but remember the consciousness of the ram, anyways. The text reads, "Those who are on this picture are upon their instruments for weaving, which are set in their sand according to the mystery which her made. This entity crieth out to their souls in whatsoever regions they are in the 2 Yitrita, and there is heard the sound of the voices of those who are shut in this circle, which is like unto the sound of the confused murmur of the living when their souls cry out to Ra. The name of this circle is Hatmat Smeo. This circle, which is called Hup Smooth is entered through a door having the name of Dus Suksum Yuru. Remember, Nuxt, Suxt Athia. In it are four mummified entities, each with an instrument for weaving in front of him. Their names are Hepast, Suncut, Duat, Ym Duat, and those who are in this picture, having their instruments for weaving before them, they are set firmly on their sand, according to the mystery which her made. This great entity crieth out to their souls, in whatsoever regions they are, into Yit, and there is heard the sounds and voices of those who are shut in this circle, which is like unto the sound of the voices of those who go down to the battlefield of Nu, when their souls cry out to Ra. The name of the circle is Hup Smoose. This circle, which is called Sahart Baus, Sahart Baus, is entered through a door having the name of Dus, Sapud, Nasut, each with an instrument for waving in front of him, and their names are Keku, Manahi, Churuksu, Spasta, the circle of Baus. The text reads, and those who are in this picture have their instruments of the weaving before them. They are set firmly on their sand, according to the mystery which her made. This great entity cried for their souls, in whatsoever regions they are, in the two Yitratan, there is heard the sounds of voices of those shut in this circle, which is like unto the sound of the cry of the divine hawk of Her, the infernal hawk of Her, when their souls cry out to Ra. The name of this circle is Sahart Baus. This circle, which is called At Satsau. At Setak is entered through a door having the name of Dusk and it are four Yura, each of which rest upon its instruments for weaving, and their names are Yarut,